Hi, everybody. Good day. Thanks for joining America Break Your Silence today as we talk about a very serious topic. Parental alienation and parental blocking. Legal kidnapping. Guys, if this has happened to you, have you been caught up in a divorce that was extreme by a controlling ex who wanted to seek vengeance for you leaving them? They couldn't handle you leaving them. That's what today's topic is all about. Using our children to destroy the other parent, and as well as children being destroyed in Stockholm Syndrome. This is a phenomenon that is very real. Everybody, I am talking to you out of experience. All of my podcasts are all out of experience and abuse that I have endured. And I'll give you a little synopsis of my story. It started out that we were in a battered women's shelter. We were going through domestic violence. He was power and control, Italian mafioso. And here we are. We have a nanny. She's pretty new. A family had problems with her. So I brought her in and started training her. As that's what I did. I owned a company called Emergency Nanny Care. And this lady saw an opportunity. And of course, my ex sends her the money and pays her off. They go into court and said that I was going to actually kidnap my very own children. After that moment, me and my son Gabriel was thrown in the streets while they took my two oldest children. I was unable to see them ever again, other than with the supervisor of the same nanny that had lied. My very first visit, which was 30 days later, we're out playing. I bring my children their favorite thing, fried chicken, and we're playing Twister. And the nanny would not stop badgering me. It was like, and she tried to say it was me, but it was her the whole time. And I told her, I said, listen, it's in God's hands. They would not let me see my kids again after that. They actually went into the court. I went and did another reason to show cause, saying they're not letting me see my kids or keeping me from my children. The nanny lies and says I threatened God on her. I never did. So then we get an evaluator that gets involved in the case. Dr. Montgomery. Dr. Montgomery did 6 months of an investigation. I had to take numerous tests, written tests, you name it, questions, observing me and my children, observing them. And the findings was my children were wrongfully taken from me in the first place. Possession is 9/10 of the law. Once he got my babies, it was all over. And it didn't matter that we found that my children were being abused. Dr. Montgomery found that my kids were psychologically abused by Mr. Perna, but nothing happened. So then Mr. Perna, Augustino Perna, didn't like that findings. So he then had my nanny accused of sexually abuse, or I don't remember, something to this nature. This nanny has been watching children for 22 years and had 2 grown children of her own. She was here trying to get her legal stuff. She had just temporary papers, so she was hysterically crying. And she all she did was give my son a bath and my son Gabriel a bath. I was sitting there reading a story on the bathroom. I have never allowed and would allow anybody to abuse my kids. I'm like a hawk. If I think of anything going wrong, man, I lose my cool and that's it. So the prosecutors get involved and found that my nanny was innocent. But they've kept their agenda. Heather Cannon Defects gets involved and found that my son was coached and that it actually didn't even happen. My son, in private, begins to tell the story and how the nanny told him to say this. Now, again, he was just a little kid. My son now and my daughter now, they're saying things that never even happened. My daughter now saying that her stomach was pumped and this actually happened in Raleigh, North Carolina. I have the evidence that her stomach was never pumped. I took her to the doctor because my vitamins were open. She had climbed up the counter. Anybody knows that they got little monkeys? I have little monkeys, you know. And I was worried. And I did like any mother would do. And that is be proactive. Make sure my baby's going to be okay. Take her to the doctor. They said there was nothing wrong and that if she had taken anything, she would pee it out. Now, my daughter remembers a whole nother occurrences. However, evidence will speak for itself. Heather Cannon gets involved with DIFUS. They did another psychiatric testing, no different than Dr. Montgomery, and again found that my children were wrongfully taken from me. Heather Cannon actually reports again that my daughter is being psychologically abused while she was crying while I was pregnant with my daughter Rose. She begins to cry and say that Augie and Anna said that mommy's not going to love them anymore because mommy's having a baby with another man. This is the kind of torment my poor children were going through. They used to pull my daughter's hair so tight, knowing it would bother me. They would do things purposely, knowing that it would make me cry. My daughter's hair, Yolanda's hair, used to fall out in my hands. I was crying. I complained to DFACS because they also were twisting her arms, and all they did was warn her. They would smoke. We ended up getting a private investigator. They found that my kids were literally being abused. Nannies and the woman driving 90-something miles an hour down Route 46 in Bud Lake, New Jersey when it's 45 miles an hour. Kids, no car seats, no seat belts. My son was, well, at the time they were old enough for no car seats, but they were in the front seat